ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So we are now in the second adhyaya and the first vali of the second adhyaya. Now these two adhyayas which we are going to see now, the first vali of the second adhyaya and the second vali of the second adhyaya are very, very important, and they are actually considered as the central core teaching of this Upanishad. Because in these two vallis, the first valli of the second chapter and the second valli of the second chapter, we are going to get the actual Swarupa Lakshanam of this Atma or Brahman. What did Nachiketa ask for? Nachiketa asked for this Atma that does not travel at the time of death, that which is not the body mind sense complex, that which is beyond dharma and adharma, that which is beyond karya and karana. What kind of what is it that remains back? What is it that is there all the time, which does not travel along with the traveling jiva? This is what Nachiketa wanted to know about this Atman. And then Bhagwan Yamadharmaraja started answering, Yamadharmaraja started answering Nachiketa's questions here. And the answers, especially till the end of the first adhyaya, we found that he was just going around Yamadharmaraja trying to praise the guru, trying to praise the shishya of this knowledge, trying to give the praise of this particular knowledge, the significance of this knowledge. But actual teaching started only in the 18th verse of the third Valli of the second chapter. First chapter it started. Now in the second chapter also he is only going to talk about the Atma Swarupam, the Swarupam of this Atma, which is going to be talked about in the first Valli and second Valli of the second chapter. We are in the first Valli of the second chapter where we have finished almost the 10 verses, and 5 to 10 verses, the 5th verse to the 10th verse, started talking about the Swarupam of Atma, or Atma Lakshana was talked about, where we saw in the 10th verse here last time, Yadeveha Tadamutra, Yadamutra Tadanbiha, Mrityoho sa Mrityumapnoti, Ya Iha Naneva Pashyati. He said that there is only one thing. There is one Adhishtanam, there is only one Atma, there is one consciousness behind every Jiva. There is one consciousness which is the Adhishtanam of this entire Jagat. And a person who can see this as one consciousness which manifests in various forms. The Namarupas are different, the appearances are different, but that which is actually the Adhishtanam, or that which is the content of every Namarupa, is nothing but this particular Atma. That was what was talked about in the 5th to the 10th verses. 5th to 10th verse talked about this Atma Swarupa, and in the 10th verse, Bhagwan Yamadharmaraja said that one has to learn to see this consciousness as everything. There are no multiple things here. Like the Dvaita opinion that there are multiple things here. The Jagat is Satyam, The name and form is Satyam. All the body, mind, sense complexes are Satyam is not true. Whatever is there, there is only this one consciousness. And also he said, Ya deveha tadamutra. Here and there, that means what? Everywhere, it is the same consciousness. Yadamutra tadiha. That means what here? Whatever is shining as the light of consciousness here is everywhere. Wherever that light of consciousness is shining, it is here also. And mrityoho sa mrityum apnoti yaha iha naneva pashyati. A person who sees here things as many, a person who sees that there are many things here, many atmas here, has really not seen the truth. So, what he wants to say is in Atma Lakshana, Ekam Eva Advitiya Atma. This consciousness, this Atma, that's this Brahman that you asked for, O Nachiketa, is one and the only. Here and there and everywhere, there is only this one consciousness. And whatever we see as many is only an appearance. There is really no many here at all. Yad iha, yad, the one, when one sees nana iha pashyati, iha, here, nana, that means there are multiple things, there are multiple atmas, every one of us have a different atma, and the world of multiple, multitude appearance is real. The one who sees many here really goes from a bondage of life and life and death, he goes from one bondage to the other. That's what he said in the 10th verse. That means what? In the 10th verse, that there is only one. Ekam Yeva Advitiya Atma. And it is one Atma, one consciousness, one Brahman, which manifests as multiple Jivas, as multiple names and forms in the world that we look around. And in the 11th verse, he is going to talk about the same thing, but he's going to talk about it in a little different form. So, what does he say? He says here, next, again, the same thing which was told in the 10th verse, he reiterates it again here. The one who sees this consciousness as many, the person who is not able to see that there is this one consciousness which is the content of every body mind sense complex, which is the content of the entire jagat, the person who is not able to see that, such a person goes from death to death, from life to life. He doesn't get freed from the bondage of samsara. He goes from one life to another, keeps on coming back again and again into this chakra of life and death. That's what he wants to say here in the 11th verse. He says, मनसैवेदम् आप्तव्यं नेह नानास्ति किञ्चन मृत्योः स मृत्युं गच्छति य इह नानेव पश्यति. This knowledge, which is the knowledge which gives me freedom from my cycles of birth and death. This knowledge, which gives me freedom from my limitation of my thinking of myself to be that limited body, mind, sense complex. This knowledge, which tells me that you are not this limited body, mind, sense complex, but you are this unlimited imperishable light of consciousness, the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma. This is the knowledge which frees one and makes one see that there is only one Atma, there is only one content of this world which is manifesting in various forms. This is the knowledge which makes one see this and frees oneself. But how is it this knowledge is supposed to be had? Manasayeva idam aptamyam, with the help of the Guru and Shastra, with the intellect only this knowledge has to be had. And this is one knowledge which has to be had by every human being. There is no other go. If a human being wants to be free from this samsara, while living, when one wants to be free from samsara, and even after death, when one doesn't want to come back again and again into this cycle of samsara, then this knowledge is something which is compulsorily to be had. And this knowledge is something which is not got by any other means. Karma does not give this knowledge. Upasana does not give this knowledge. Karma only prepares the mind for this knowledge by Chitta Shuddhi. Upasana only prepares this mind, this intellect for this knowledge by Chitta Naishchalyam. And therefore, this knowledge is something which has to be had Guru Mukhena Shastra Shravanam. Via Guru Mukhena, with Shastra Shravanam, Manasa Yeva Idam Aptavyam. This knowledge is something which is supposed to be had, which is supposed to be got in the mind itself. Manasa eva. Mind here means intellect. When we say mind, we take it along with the intellect. The mind and the intellect, the antakarana, they are all taken together. When you say you have to know it through the mind, it is the intellect only in which this knowledge has also to take place. There is no other place where this knowledge takes place. Like any other knowledge, like any other Laukika Jnanam, this Adhyatma Jnanam, Atma Jnanam also takes place in this intellect only. But the type of knowledge that we are having here is different from the Laukika knowledge, because this is the knowledge which frees me from samsara, whereas the Laukika knowledge is the one which binds me to samsara all over again. So here he says, Manasa yeva idam aptavyam. This tattva of Atma being Ekam Advayam, which is there as the Adhishtanam of everything, is to be known only through the mind. It has to be understood. Manasa eva idam aptavyam. It has to be known. It is necessary. As a human birth, which we have got, as human beings, we have got this birth. It is ultimately the goal of every human mind is to know this knowledge. So manasa eva idam aptavyam. And what is that knowledge? Neha nanasti kinchana. Neha nanasti kinchana. Na iha nana asti kinchana. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, neha nanasti, other than this Atma. Whatever we see here, we see millions of forms of Jiva, millions of body, mind, sense complexes, millions of names and forms in the Jagat outside us. What is all this? It is nothing but an appearance or an experiential reality. But what is there? There is only one thing. Ekameva advitiyam Brahma neha nanasti kinchana na iha nana asti. There are no many things here. There is only one thing, one Atma. मृत्योः स मृत्युं गच्छति य इह नानेव पश्यति. Who's telling this? The God of death is telling it. He says, the one who sees many here, the one who sees many Atmas here, or the one who sees that one is different from the other, I am different from you, you are different from me, the world is different from me, Jiva is different from Jagat, Jagat is different from Ishvara, Jiva is different from Ishvara. In this way, a person who sees Nana, a person who sees multiple or many and does not appreciate the oneness of the Atma behind everything. Mrityoho samrityum gachati. From one death to another death, from one cycle of birth and death to another cycle of birth and death, this particular person or jiva goes from one cycle to another. So he says, Iha naneva pashyati, the one who sees it as different, the one who sees there are different atmas, the one who sees that there is difference between every individual and the world, the one who sees this definitely goes from one cycle of birth and death to another cycle. Therefore, Nachiketa, we must remember this is a conversation, this is a dialogue between Nachiketa and Yamadharmaraja. And through Nachiketa, Yamadharmaraja is teaching us also. So now, what is he saying here? Manasa eva idam aptavyam neha nanasti kinchana mrityoho samrityum gachati ya iha naneva pashyati. Then again, he wants to talk about from the next verse again, he wants to talk about this Brahman, this Atma, as to where it is recognizable. He told in the two previous verses that everything that is there is this Brahman and Atma. There is nothing else. But what do we see? We see Nana here. Nana means many. We see multiple of bodies, multiple of objects here. But that one thing, which is the adhishtanam of this body mind sense complex, every body mind sense complex, and that which is the adhishtanam of this entire Jagat, we don't see that. And therefore, he wants to say, where is this Atma, this consciousness is recognizable. And all our scriptures say that though Atma or consciousness is all pervading, though it is everywhere, this Atma is easily recognizable in one's own mind, in one's own intellect, in the Hridaya Guha of every living being. This consciousness is recognized with the constant spuranam of Ahamasmi, Ahamasmi. There is something which is constantly pulsating in me as I am, I am, I am. And this understanding, this kind of owning up I am, where is this happening? This is happening in my own mind. Where is the mind? According to the scientists, the mind is supposed to be in the brain. No, it is not true. The mind, according to our scriptures, the antakarana or the mind is supposed to be in the buddhi guha, in the hridaya guha. So it is said that this buddhi guha or hridaya guha, which has the space which is almost of the size of an angushta. If you take your heart to be a fist shaped heart, then the space within the heart is as much as one angushta, as if it is one thumb. So that is the space which is supposed to be within the heart. And our scriptures say that the antakarana, the buddhi or the mind is here within this Hridaya Guha. And one has to recognize this I am in this Hridaya Guha. And therefore, he says in the next two verses, this recognizability of Atman is being talked about here in the next two verses as to what is that. So, here in the 12th verse, Yamadharmaraja says, Angushta purushaha madhya atmani tishtati ईशानो भूतभव्यस्य न ततो विजुगुप्सते ये तत् वैतत्. This is what you asked for, the Chiketa. You asked for this Atma. What is this Atma? Angushta Matra Purushaha. This Atma is that Angushta Matra Purushaha. That consciousness which is recognizable, which is available in my own Hridaya Guha, in the space of the heart, and it is as though this consciousness is Angushta Matra size. No, it is not of the size of Angushta Matra, it is not of the thumb size. This is the Atma which is all pervading but available in my own Hridaya Guha. In my own Hridaya Guha, it is available as the light of consciousness. It is available as the Jivatma. This entire all pervading Atma is available in my Hridaya Guha as the Jivatma. What is Jivatma? The Atma with the reflected consciousness Chidabhasa and the Buddhi which is present in the Hridaya Guha. This Jivatma is available within this heart and it is available to me. And Angushta Matra Purushaha Madhya Atmani Tishtati. Madhya Atmani. Here Atmani means in the body. In the center of the body it is available. That is why when we say I am, where do we say? We say I. We point out here to the middle of the, to our hearts we point and say, I did this. I want to go there. This is me. We never say I. We never point to the brain and say I. So when we say I, we always point out to the heart. Our scriptures also say that that is correct because this all pervading consciousness is available in this Angushta Matra space of the Hridaya Guha, reflected in the Buddhi, which is present in this Hridaya Guha as a reflection, as the Jivatma. It is present as Jivatma. Therefore, Angushta Matra Purushaha Madhya Atmani Tishtati Ishano Bhuta Bhavyasya. And what is this Atma? Ishanaha. He is the Ishvara. He is the Lord. Who I, this consciousness. Bhuta Bhavyasya. Anything that was there in the past, anything that is here now, anything that is going to come about in the future, this consciousness is the Ishanaha. It is the one who is the Ishvara, Ishanaha, Bhuta Bhavyasya, Bhuta Bhavyasya Ishanaha, Na Tato Vijugupsate. Na Tataha. Once a person has understood this, that this all pervading Atma is I am this all pervading Atma. And though I'm not able to see this Atma, I'm only able to see multiple things here. But actually, the one and the only Adhishtanam of this Atma. Where is this? This Atma is available in me, in Hridaya Guha. It is available as this Angushta Matra Jivatma. It is available. And who is this Jivatma? This Jivatma is nothing but that Paramatma, nothing but that Atma, which is Ishanaha, which is the very ruler, which is the very emperor, which is the very, the one who is Ishvara, who lords over Bhutam, Bhuta Bhavyasya, that of the past and the future, Bhuta Bhavyasya Ishanaha, and the one who knows this, Na Vijugupsate. Such a person has no reason to fear. Such a person does not protect himself from, there is no need for this person to protect himself or herself from anything. Ishanaha bhuta bhavyasya na tato vijigupsate. He does not feel the necessary need to protect himself or herself from anything. Why? Because sa nana iha na pashyati. Such a person does not see this place or this whole world as that Ishvara, the light of consciousness. Such a person, na tataha vijugupsate, the one who has this knowledge, does not feel the necessity to run away somewhere or to protect oneself from anything, because whatever he sees is only this one consciousness. He sees only this one consciousness, so there is no need to protect oneself. So, that because of which a person has lost all fear and shoka. Na mohaha na shokaha, ko moha ka shokaha. It is said, where is the moha? Where is the confusion? Ka shokaha. Where is the sorrow? And na vijagupsate. So, where is the question of protecting oneself from anything? Because whatever is there is nothing but this Atman alone. And this is the Atma you asked for, hey Nachiketa. It looks as if Yamadharma Raja is worried whether Nachiketa has forgotten what he asked for. So all the time he's telling him, Yetad Vaitad, Yetad Vaitad. This is what you asked for. This is that Atma you asked for, which is all pervading, which is not seen by your any of your sense organs. But this is the Atma which is available as the Jivatma in the Hridaya Guha, as Ahamasmi, as is Jivatma. It is available in this Hridaya Guha. And then once you know yourself to be not the body mind sense complex, but nothing but this Atma, then you don't have any moha, you don't have any shoka, and there is no need to protect yourself from anything. Na tato vijagupsate yetad vaitat. So there is no need to protect oneself. The same thing is continued here in the next verse also, in the 13th verse also. So what does Yamadharmaraja say? Angushta matraha purushaha jyotiriva adhumakaha ईशानो भूतभव्यस्य स एवाद्य स उष्वः ये तद्वैतत्. Again, Nachiketa, whatever you asked for, this particular Atma or consciousness you asked for, this is what it is. What is this? Angushta Matra Purushaha. Again, it is that Angushta Matra Purushaha, which is available in the Hridaya Guha as Jivatma. That consciousness which is there, which is available behind this body mind sense complex also, but recognizable. It is recognizable in myself, in my own Hridaya Guha, as the reflection, as the Jivatma. It is recognizable. It is Jyotiriva Adhumakaha. It is the light of consciousness, Jyotihi, Jyotisham Jyotihi. That's why another Upanishad calls it the light of lights, Jyotisham Jyotihi, Jyotihi iva, Jyotisham Jyotihi, Jyotihi iva Adhumakaha, without any smoke. What is the meaning of it? A flame without any smoke. It means it is a very bright smoke, a smoke without it's a very bright flame, I'm sorry, a flame without smoke. Jyotihi adhumakaha. This is a flame without any kind of a smoke, a very bright flame. So what he says is, it is this consciousness, this is the light of consciousness, which is a very bright light of consciousness, which is not covered by anything. It is asangaha. It is not afflicted by any of the doshas of the body, mind, sense complex. Therefore, it is a smokeless flame of fire, a bright flame of fire. Ahamasmi. So brightly it is this Ahamasmi, this light of consciousness is so brightly shining itself. So Jyotiriva Adhumakaha, again Ishano Bhuta Bhavyasya. This is the light of consciousness, which is the very Ishvara, or which is the very ruler of Bhuta and Bhavya, that which is of the past and the present and the future. Ishano Bhuta Bhavyasya Sa Yeva Adhya Sa Ushvaha. It is the same thing that was there yesterday, now, at present, and that which is there tomorrow also. Sayeva Adhya. It is that consciousness which is here and now, Adhya. Sa U Shvaha. It is the same consciousness which I am going to, it is the same tomorrow also. So Bhuta Bhavyasya, it is something unlimited by time. It is that absolutely not restricted by time. It is the timeless consciousness. There is no question of yesterday, today, and tomorrow in this consciousness. This is the same consciousness principle yesterday, which is manifesting here today, which is going to manifest in future tomorrow also. Ishano Bhuta Bhavyasya Sayeva Adhyaha. It is what that is there right now also. Sa Ushvaha. That going to be the same consciousness which is going to shine smokeless and bright flame of consciousness now also, tomorrow also. Then he says, like next two verses, the 14th and the 15th, the last two verses of the first valley of the second chapter. What does Yamadharmaraja wants to say? He wants to say in these last few verses, Yamadharmaraja wants to stress upon the fact that there is nothing multiple here. There are no many things here. There is only one thing here. There is only one Atma. This is what Yamadharmaraja wants to really say in these verses, that a person who thinks that there are many things here has lost out on his life. And a person who sees one consciousness as the very adhishtanam of all the many things that are experienced by us is a person who has really understood what it is. That is what he wants to say now. So, what does he say here in the 14th verse? Yathodakam durge vrishtam पर्वतेषु विधावति एवं धर्मान् पृथक् पश्यन् तानेव अनुविधावति. So what is the meaning of this verse? He says, he gives an example. If it has rained on a mountain or a hill, and if this water drains away from different parts of that mountain or hill into different areas in very small streams, all those small streams of water get absorbed by the land absorbed by the mud, by the earth, and all this water gets destroyed. Destroyed means gets absorbed. Whereas if all these streams, because of the rain, which have those small streams which have formed over the hills, if they are the ones who are going to join together with each other, they're going to join with each other together, and then they can form a big river. If the streams join together, they can form a river and come down. But when the streams are different and go their own way, take their own path differently, they get destroyed. Similarly, a person who sees the jivas as many, a person who sees the bheda in the jiva bheda who sees, a person who sees jiva jagat bheda, a person who sees jagat ishvara bheda, a person who sees jiva ishvara bheda, a person who sees all these bhedas, this is a person who's going to destroy himself, just like the small streams of rain which have formed on a hill are going to come down separately, and before even they come down from the hill, they have got lost and they have got absorbed. So a person who sees the jivas as multiple, as different from each other, is going to have get lost in samsara. This person is going to get lost. Whereas a person who sees no difference in the jivas, there is no nanatvam, there is only ekatvam, there is only one ekam advitiya atma, not in this among all the jivas, everywhere here. The person who sees this is a person who is like all the streams have joined together and formed one river which can come down and go through and flow to the ocean. This is the life, almost it's an example to show how a person who sees multiple and forgets or refuses or somehow misses seeing that one thing which is the real thing, a person misses, his life is wasted. But a person who is able to see this one thing as the thing which is really going to make him really free from this life of coming and going, then it is a person who has made it or who has understood it. So he says, Yathodakam Durge Vrishtam. Yatha Udakam Durge Vrishtam. Yatha Udakam means rain water. Vrishtam, which is raining. Durge, on the Durga or on the hill. Parvateshu Vidhavati. Okay, it comes down. Nimna Desheshu, in the lower portions of the Parvata, it comes Vidhavati, it runs here. Yevam, in this way, Dharman Prithak Pashyan. Dharman means jiva here. Here, dharma does not mean dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Here, dharma means jiva. So, jivan, in when he sees dharman pritak pashya, when I see myself different from you, when you see yourself different from other people, difference is there as far as the body, mind, sense complex is concerned. Difference is there because it is the upadhi difference. But this difference is not the real. It is the false difference because Upadhi is mithya, whereas Atman is Satyam. It is one Atman behind this body mind sense complex, behind every other body mind sense complex. It is this one Atma which is seen. So, Evam Dharman Pritak Prishpashyan Taneva Anuvidhavati. He also wastes his life like all those small streams which have got themselves lost, not joining the other streams. Each stream has found its different way and they have lost themselves. Similarly, a person who sees dharman pritak pashyan, a person who sees myself to be different from other jivas, jiva is different from jagat, jagat is different from Ishvara. When this difference is seen by the jiva, by such a person, such kind of a person, this person is going to be really a person who has lost his way. He is going to really lose his way. Therefore, in the next verse, in the last verse of the first valley of the second chapter, he talks about how my Atma is not different from your Atma. There are no multiple Atmas. See, there is a philosophy called as a Sankhya philosophy, in which they believe in Atma Bahutvam. Sankhya philosophy talks about my Atma is different from your Atma is different from your Atma. But then Advaita, our scriptures do not talk about that. All the Upanishads talk about one Atma. It is one Atma, Ekameva Advitiyam Atma, behind all the millions of names and forms called Jivas. It is one Atma, which is Brahman, which is the Adhishtanam of the millions of names and forms called as the Jagat. And therefore, it is very clearly explained in our Upanishads that there are no many Atmas. Many Jivas may be there. Many reflected consciousnesses must be there. One consciousness, which is the Atma, is one and the same. It may get reflected in millions of Jiva Rashis, Buddhis, and manifest as different Jivas. The Jivas may be different, but the Atma is one and the same. And therefore, there is no difference between my Atma and your Atma. That is what is going to be the conclusion of this Vali of this chapter. So, what does he say here? Yathodakam shuddhe shuddham asiktam tratadrigeva bhavati yevam muner vijanatah atma bhavati gautama. So here he says that in this next verse he says, Yatha Shuddha Udakam Shuddhe Asiktam Tadrigeva Bhavati. Suppose we have two glasses of pure water. We mix those two glasses of pure water. We don't find any difference between the water. Do we say that this water belongs to this particular glass, this belongs to this particular glass? No. There is absolutely no difference at all in the waters of these two glasses. So, what is the meaning of that? There is no difference between the two Atmas or multiple Atmas. There are no two Atmas. There is only one Atma. Yatha Udakam Shuddhe Shuddham Asiktam Tadrigeva Bhavati. That's why we see that when big rivers come and smaller rivulets join them, once they join the river, can you differentiate the water of a particular rivulet from another river? It is not possible. You cannot differentiate the water of one river from the other when they are joined together. So he says, when two sources of water are mixed together, is it possible for us to say from where this water has come, from where the water has come? Yevam munehe vijanataha. A person who has understood this Atma to be the one and the only behind every body mind sense complex, behind every name and form, Atma Bhavati Gautama. Such a person understands that he is that light of consciousness behind every jiva. There is no difference between jiva and jiva. Between every jiva's consciousness is the same. There is no difference in Atma. Atma and Brahman are one source of consciousness. Kshetragnyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata is what Krishna said in the 13th chapter. This is a statement which we have to remember all the time. This is one of the most important statements of the Upanishads which Krishna has done in the 13th chapter. Therefore, it says that there is no difference. It is like mixing two sources of water and trying to differentiate them after they have been mixed together. It is not possible. So, what we have to see here is just like two sources of water mixed together cannot be made out, cannot be differentiated. Similarly, the Atmas of various jivas, various dharmas cannot be separated, cannot be differentiated. So, what is that? Munehe vijanataha. Such a person, he becomes, he knows that he becomes means what? He knows that he is the Atma and he is not different. He no longer sees the Bheda between Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. This is the phalam of this knowledge. Having understood that this Jiva is not different from another jiva laksharthataya. From the point of view of consciousness, from the point of view of atma, this jiva is not different from another jiva. All the jivas have this one consciousness as their adhishtanam. The entire jagat of names and forms has this one consciousness brahman as its adhishtanam, and a person who sees this has seen this. And of course, here he doesn't say etad vaitad. This is supposed to be known, the last two verses, where Yamadharmaraja is giving a way of looking at oneself as one, and what is the result of seeing oneself as different from other jivas. When I see myself different, when I see jivas are different, it is like water flowing in small stream down a hill and losing itself. Whereas when I see that there is only one Atman, I see that one Atman in every Jiva, then I have really had the correct vision, the clarity of perception of what the Upanishads are talking about is clearly there. So, with this, we have completed the Prathama Valli of the Dvitiya Adhyaya. So now we'll go to the Dvitiya Valli of the Dvitiya Adhyaya. As I told you, there are two Adhyayas, means there are two main chapters in Kathopanishad. And each main chapter has got three Vallis, means three subsections. So in the first Adhyaya, we completed the three sections. We started the second Adhyaya, in which we have completed the first section. Now we are going to the second section. In this section also, Yamadharmaraja is only going to talk about the Atma Swarupam. That is why I said in the beginning of this session that the first Valli of the second chapter and the second Valli of the second chapter are literally containing the core of teaching of this particular Upanishad. The very core of teaching of this Upanishad is found in these two sections. So here also, in this section also, Punarapi, again, in a different way, Prakarantarena, in a little different way, in a different way of teaching. This is the teaching method of Upanishad. It talks about the same thing, oneness of the Atma, no difference in Atma. Iha na na iha nana asti. Ekam advitiyam atma asti. Atma asti. That is what is being talked about in all the Upanishads. But what do the Upanishads do? They utilize different ways of conveying the same thing. They convey the same thing in a different way because, at least in some way, a person may understand. That's why Bhagwan Shankaracharya in his Bhashya says, Punarapi prakarantarena Brahma Tattva Nirdhara Artha Ayam Arabhya. So again, Yamadharmaraja is going to prakarantarena. In a different way, Yamadharmaraja is going to explain the ekatvam of this Atma, the swarupam of this Atma, that this is this consciousness, Atma Chaitanyam, which is present everywhere in everything. That is what is going to be talked about. In the next verse, in the first verse of the Dvitiyavali, he is going to talk about that consciousness which is present behind the individual jiva bodies. So, Vyashti, behind the Vyashti body, behind the bodies of the jivas, what is present? Where is it present? That is what is going to be talked about this Atman from the point of view of a Vyashti jiva. So, let us see this here. Puram ekadashadvaram अजस्यावक्रचेतसः अनुष्ठाय न शोचति विमुक्तश्च विमुच्यते ये तद्वैतत्. हे नचिकेता, you asked for this particular Atma as to where is this. This is what it is. Ye tat vaitat. This is what you asked for. And where is this Atma? I said this Atma is all pervading, it is everywhere. But then where is it to be seen? I also told you that it is recognizable as the Angushta Matra Purusha Jivatma in the Hridaya Guha of every individual organism, of every individual jiva. In that case, where is this jivatma? which is the manifestation of Atma itself. Where is this Atma present? He says that it is present in every Jiva Upadhi. In what way is it present? Puram Ekadasha Dwaram. It is present in the Pura of the body. Navadvare Pure Dehi, Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita. In the Pura or in the nine gated city of this body, this consciousness is manifesting, this consciousness is shining almost as the Raja. Shining as the Raja. That is what he told. So, what does he say? Puram Ekadasha Dwaram, in this 11 gated body. Now you may wonder why Yamadharmaraya is talking about 11 gated body and Krishna talked about 9 gated body. See, anyway, the body is mithya, it is not satyam. When you are describing mithya, doesn't matter. If you describe 11 gates, whether you describe 9 gates, it does not make any difference. Anyway, we already know that the body is mithya. The body has no real existence, independent existence of its own. And what is this body? It is only nothing but a projection from Maya. It is a matter which is projected by Maya in me, the Atma. This is the Upadhi which is Mithya. This body is Mithya. We have already seen that. Why is it Mithya? Drishyatvat, it is Mithya. I can see it. I can experience it. Therefore, I am not the body. I am the very experiencer consciousness of this body. I am not this body. It is Panchabhautika. This body is made up of the five elements. Therefore, it is an elemental. It is a matter principle. Therefore, it is not Satyam. It is not the Atma. This body is, is not the reality. It is Mithya. And therefore, he says, in this Mithya body, in this Vyavaharika body, in this Panchabhautika body, which contains 11 gates. So, what I was saying was, some other Upanishad may describe it as some other gates, number of gates. So, let us not bother about 11 gates or 9 gates, because ultimately the Shastra is describing a particular anatma, the body, anatma, mithya anatma. Here, Yamadharmaraja chooses to describe the 11 gates of this body. What are the 11 gates of this body? He says Ekadasha, means what are the 11 gates? Two ears, two nostrils, two eyes, one mouth. So, how many are there? Seven. Correct? Then, the lower part of the body, two exits for the waste products, 9. Nabhi, the navel, number 10. And there is a Randra here called as the Brahma Randra. We have seen it in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where a yogi dies. He assembles his entire jiva, goes through the Sushumna Nadi, and the jiva goes out of the body through this Brahmarandra. We have already seen that. We have seen that. So that is one more gate. So 11 gates. This 11 gated body, 7 here in the face, 8, 9, 10, the lower parts of the body for the excretion of the waste product, and the Nabhi itself is a gate. Because when we were in the fetal form, it is through that gate in the navel that we survived. We got all the nutrition from our mothers in the womb and we survived. So that gate may be closed now permanently, but that is also a gate through which we survived earlier. So it still is existing in us as a non functional closed gate. So Ekadasha Dware Pure, okay, Dwaram, Ajasya Avakrachetasah. This unborn, Ajaha, unborn, limitless consciousness, Avakrachetasaha, without undergoing any change, is residing in this heart, in this Hridaya Guha. Anushtaya, having known this consciousness, I don't have to look for this consciousness anywhere else. I don't have to go about searching for this consciousness anywhere. This consciousness, this Atma is me. It is available, recognizable within this body, mind, sense complex in the Hridaya Guha as I, this consciousness. Anushtaya means having recognized. A person who sees this Atma within the 11 gated body of my own body in the Hridaya Guha, a person. Anushtaya. Anushtaya means having seen, having understood, having realized that this particular Atma is not something away from me. It is me, it is within me, it can be recognized within me. Anushtaya na shochati. Such a person, there is no shoka. Why? Nana iha na pashyati. He sees the same consciousness. He sees the same consciousness, the same Atma, where within me also, outside also, within every human body, within every other jiva, within every other body, animal body, everything, he sees the same jiva. Understanding that the upadhis are different, the jivas are different, but Atma behind all the jiva bodies are one and the same. Anushtaya na shochati. He no longer has got any shoka, no sorrow. Shochami aham, Narada said. Narada, it seems, who is a very well educated expert in so many branches of science, went to Sanat Kumara, his guru. It is, seen in Chandogya Upanishad. There is one chapter called Bhuma Vidya, in which Narada goes to his guru Sanat Kumara and he says, Aham Shochami. I know so many Vidyas. I am this Rishi Narada, but still I am having this sorrow. But I have heard Shokam Tarati Atmavid. I have heard that a person who knows this Atma, who has understood this Atma, Shokam Tarati. A person who has understood, I am this Atma, I am not this body mind sense complex, I am this consciousness, this Atma. The person who has understood this, Shokam Tarati. Abhayam Param Vindate. We see that in the previous verse. Abhayam Param goes beyond the sagara of dukkha and samsara. Anushtaya na shochati. The one who has clearly understood. Anushtaya means who has clearly seen, who has clearly understood. Na shochati. A person stops worrying. A person stops protecting himself. Na vijugupsate. There is no vijugupsa, there is no question of any shoka, moha for him. Vimuktascha vimuktaye. He is a vimukta. He is a jivan mukta. He is not troubled by samsara anymore. Living here and now, he is vimukta. He is free from the samsara. Not only that, vimuktascha vimuchyate. He never comes back again after this body falls off, which is called as videha mukti. So we have seen jivan mukti, videha mukti. Both the muktis are being talked about here. Jivan mukti means what? Here, being here and now in the same body, I have very clearly understood that I am not the body mind sense complex, but I am nothing but this light of consciousness. Such a person, anushtaya na shochati, vimuktascha vimuchyate. A person is free from this samsara. He is a jivan mukta and he is a videha mukta also. So the knowledge of which, that knowing which frees you from samsara here and now, and knowing that which frees you from coming back again and again into the cycles of birth. This is that Atma Nachiketa Yetad Vaitat, which you wanted to know. You wanted to know what this Atma is. It is that Atma which, when you know clearly what it is, Ekameva Advitiyam, you are a Jivan Mukta and you are a Videha Mukta. Now, since we have another 6 minutes, I will introduce the second verse. In the second verse, the same Atma is talked about from the point of view of the Samashti. In the first verse, the Vyashti was talked about. Now, in the second verse, from the point of view of the total, from the point of Samashti, it is the same Atma which is behind this body mind sense complex, is the same consciousness behind everything in the Samashti. That is what is being talked about in the second verse here. He says, Hagam Saha Shuchishad वरसत् अन्तरिक्षसत् होता वेदिषत् अतिथिर्दुरोणसत् दृशद्वरसत् तसद्व्योम सद्व्योमसद् व्योमसद् अब्जा गोजा ऋतजा अद्रिजा ऋतं बृहत्. A little complicated word. Hagam saha shuchishat वर वसुरन्तरिक्षसत् होता वेदिषत् अतिथिः दुरोणसत् दृशत् वरसत् ऋतसत् व्योमसत् अब्जा गोजा ऋतजा अद्रिजा ऋतं बृहत्. Of course, it's a complicated verse, so you don't have to worry about, by hearting this verse. But I can tell you the meaning of this, that everything that you see in the Samashti is nothing but this Atma. Hagam Saha Shuchi Shad. Hamsaha means the sun. Hamsaha Shuchi Shad. Okay, Hamsaha means this sun which is seen moving about in the space is nothing but this Atma. Vasurantarikshasat. Vasuhu means Vayuhu. Vayuhu which is moving in the space, in the Antarikshaha. Vasu Antarikshasat. It is nothing but this Atma. Then Hota Vedishad. Hota means the Agni in the Vedi, in the earth. That fire in the earth is nothing but this Atma. The sun which is seen rising and setting is nothing but this Atma. The Vayu which is moving about in this Antariksha is nothing but this Atma. Hota or the Agni which is present in the Vedi, in this earth. Vedi means earth. In this earth is nothing but Atma. Atitihi Duronasat. An Atiti who comes to your house is nothing but this Atma. Drishad, the no, that which is present behind all the human beings is this Atma. Varasad, Ritasad, Varasad, that consciousness which is present in the Devas or exalted beings is the same consciousness which is behind the Nara. Drishad means which is behind the kings, exalted people, that consciousness which is present in the exalted people, in Varasad, in all the Devas which is present, Vyomasad, that consciousness behind the Vyoma or the space, Abja, that consciousness which is present in everything that is created out of water, Abja, Goja, anything that is coming out of the earth, whatever is there, it is nothing but this consciousness. Ritaja, whatever is the karma phala which is produced by all these yaga yajnas is nothing but this Atma. Adrija, Adrija means that which is the anything which is produced out of this, which comes out of these mountains, it is nothing but this Atma. Ritam Brahata. Ritam Brahata means this truth. This truth called as Atma is that which is behind the sun which is moving, the Vayu which is moving in the Antariksham, that which is in the Agni which is present in the earth, that which is in the form of an Atiti coming in the house, that which is behind all exalted human beings, that which is behind all the exalted jivas like devas, that which is that which is behind all the water forms, that which is behind all that is produced by the mountains, which is coming out of the mountains, that which is created out of the earth. Whatever is there in this universe, it is nothing but this Atma. So Samashtishtaya also, it is the same light of consciousness which is present in the Vyashti body mind sense complex and the Samashti also. Its time is almost getting 1 hour. So Nandantu sadhaka sarve vinashyantu vidushakaha avastha shambhavi mestu prasannostu gurus sada सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च।